I've just been back from my vacation in Hanoi, Vietnam. In this trip, I had a chance to visit some handicraft villages that produce the finest craft works exported over the world. The very first place I set foot on was Van Phuc Silk Village, the cradle of best silk in Vietnam once. I totally fall in love with many colourful clothes, hats, bags, tie, made of authentic silk. Then, I moved on to Bat Trang Ceramic Village, the most famous and long-standing pottery village in Vietnam with a nearly 1,000 years old historic development. Here, I visited a small family factory to see how the artisans form, paint and glaze with unique products, and have a chance to practice my talent with wet clay and a mould. Afternoon, I continued to visit Dong Ho Folk Painting Village, where the traditional woodblock paintings are preserved. I was completely impressed by the folk paintings made by the local skillful artisans with natural materials and colours. Each painting is completely handmade on paper of the zhou tree and is coloured with other natural materials, and its glittery surface is finished with oyster shell dust. I took home a lot of handmade souvenirs, which were later given to my family and friends. Channapatna is a city in Ramanagara district, Karnataka, India, and is noted for its famous handmade lacquer wooden toys all over the world. It's popularly known as Gomigala Uru, or the Toy City of Karnataka. The origin of the wooden toys dates back to the period of Tipu Sultan, the ruler of Mysore, who was a great admirer of wooden toys. He took the initiative to invite artisans from Persia and train the local artists to learn the process of making wooden toys. The artisans still follow the traditional method of making the toys for nearly 2 centuries. They are only using ivory wood for making the toys, and very rarely rosewood and sandalwood are used. But slowly, the artisans have also started to use other woods like teak, pine, rubber and cedar wood. Manufacturing stages include procuring the wood, seasoning the wood, cutting the wood into the desired shapes, pruning and carving the toys, applying the colours and finally polishing the finished product. Vegetable dyes are used in the colouring process to ensure that the toys and dolls are safe for use by children. More than 6,000 people in Channapatna, working in 254 home manufacturing units and 50 small factories, were engaged in the making of these toys. Jalan Hang Jebat, or commonly known as Jonker Walk, is a street in historical Chinatown of Malacca, starting just across the river from the Dutch Square. Jonker Walk is flanked on both sides of the road with heritage houses dating back to the 17th century. At that time, rich Barbar Nonyas, also known as Perankans, descendants of 15th, 16th century Chinese immigrants marrying local Malay women, lived and did their business here. Today the street houses many shops selling antiques, textiles, handicrafts and souvenirs, similar to what you can find at Central Market in Kuala Lumpur. On the weekends, starting Friday night at 6 p.m, the road is closed off to traffic and turns in a very crowded night market. The famous chicken rice ball dish can also be found here, just opposite the start of Jonker Walk near the bridge. The earth is warming at an alarming rate, and humans are running out of non-renewable resources. As an individual, you've become increasingly aware of the impact your life has on the planet. Even if you make every effort to live sustainably, you likely won't do much to help the planet. However, if you take the concept of green living beyond a personal approach and into the community, your collective effort will make a huge difference. One way you can inspire your community to go green is by shopping locally. That means frequenting local farmers' markets and small family-owned businesses, as well as farm-to-table restaurants. The goal is to reduce food miles while supporting the local economy. This local shopping time can allow you to get to know your community. You might also make occasional trips to the local thrift shop or charity organization to donate food or unwanted, lightly used items. Ask your neighbors if they have anything they'd like to donate, and offer to take it for them. Better yet, you could even host a community clothing or food drive to collect items. Doing this will inspire your community to think twice before tossing unwanted items in the trash, and maybe even encourage your neighbors to purchase used items instead of heading to the store first. With the socio-economic development, more and more cities around the world have been dealt with the shortage of housing. These days, there are a large number of laborers flooding into city centers to search for suitable jobs with high level of salary. As a result, the demand of the accommodation has risen significantly than ever before because the demands outweigh the supplies. Moreover, most people would like to live in cities because they have a higher standard of living than that of the countryside. Obviously, with stable and high income of the employees, they would have a better cultural life as well as material life in cities. To address this social problem, governments should call for investment in the countryside to attract labor forces. In addition, they also need to put an effort into raising a great deal of money to build more skyscrapers to meet demands of housing and enact a law that sets strict conditions to work and to live in cities. Life in the big city is face-based, fun and exciting. There are countless job opportunities and activities to occupy your time. However, with the good there also comes the bad. Although the big city has more job opportunities, there are also more people competing for a single job. This can make your job search frustrating. Oddly enough, you will see hundreds if not thousands of jobs available each week, but you still might remain unemployed, especially when the economy is down. In addition, the cost of living is typically higher in big cities, and it can cost you an arm and a leg for a small apartment in a decent area of the city, not to mention other costs to fulfill your basic demands. Diversity is a good thing, but the amount of people can be a bit overwhelming if you are not accustomed to it. There will always be crowds and always be people around. Moreover, traffic can be a nightmare in the big city. It can get so bad that it can turn you into an evil person. If you hate driving in traffic, then the big city life is not for you. Heavy traffic also contributes to the pollution, which is one of the biggest disadvantages of living in the city. Obviously, our health is affected most with certain diseases relating to respiratory system and other body parts. A lot of premature deaths are supposed to be the result of long-term exposure to small particles. Most importantly, there is always more crime in a big city, causing you second-guess your decision for living in a big city. You are much more likely to be a victim of a crime living in a big city than in a small town. Tokyo is Japan's capital and largest city. It's also one of the largest cities in the world. Founded in 1457, Tokyo has grown into a major part of a metropolitan region that also includes the cities of Yokohama and Kawasaki. The metropolitan region, also known as Greater Tokyo, has over 30 million residents, which makes it one of the largest metropolitan areas in the world. Tokyo today is a very welcoming metropolis. Tourists roam about the streets taking in Japanese culture. Hundreds of shrines and temples adorn the city. Shinto and Buddhism are the major religions of Japan. Tourists can also experience Japanese cuisine. There are thousands of restaurants in Tokyo. You can choose from noodle shops, sushi bars, or even McDonald's, with special Japan-inspired items found only in Japan. If you ever have the chance to visit Japan, make sure you stop in Tokyo for at least a few days. Toronto is one of the world's most multicultural cities. Almost half of its population are immigrants. You'll hear more than 140 languages and dialects spoken on the streets in this city of neighborhoods. It's the most populous city in Canada, more than 5 million in the Greater Toronto Area, and the province of Ontario's economic engine. Toronto's motto is "Diversity Our Strength." Toronto prides itself on its wide range of cultures, languages, food, and arts. Visit Toronto, and one of the first things you'll notice is that the city's appeal lies in its citizens' friendliness. Ask for directions, and you'll be helped. Along with its highly artistic culture and fascinating museums that proudly display the country's history, it's clear that a Toronto trip has something for everyone. Although Toronto's climate is partially moderated by its Great Lakes location, it is more extreme than Bordeaux and Christchurch, with somewhat hotter summers and considerably colder winters. Summertime in Toronto is festival time. Just about every weekend and some weekdays you'll find one happening. If crowds aren't your thing, avoid Caravana Festival, July 28 through July 31, when the city greets more than 1 million visitors. There are things any person can do to stay healthy. As a teenager, there are some things you should pay special attention to. Physical health, taking care of your body. Exercise regularly. Teens should be physically active at least 60 minutes of every day. Eat a healthy diet. Healthy eating is an important part of your growth and development. Eat plenty of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, a variety of protein foods and low-fat dairy products. Avoid junk foods such as soda pop, fast food and chips. Get enough sleep. Most teens need between 9 and 2 hours of sleep every night. Many average only 7 hours. Sleep has a strong effect on your ability to concentrate and do well at school. Mental health, taking care of your mind. Learn ways to manage stress. You can't avoid stress, so you need to learn healthy coping skills. This will help you stay calm and be able to function in stressful situations. Study and do your best in school. There is a strong link between health and academic success. Develop a good balance between school, work, and social life. Don't try to take on too much. Limit your activities to the most important ones and give those 100%. Overextending yourself can lead to stress, frustration, or exhaustion. Some experts worry that teens are more anxious and have lower self-esteem because of social media and texting. There are key differences to socializing online. Teens miss out on things like body language and facial expressions. This can lead to misunderstandings and hurt feelings. It can also make talking in person feel more intimidating. It is also common for teens to feel bad about themselves when they see everyone online looking perfect. Teens often try to compensate by sharing pictures that make them look perfect too. Then, when their social media identity doesn't match how they actually feel, they can end up feeling worse. Parents can help by setting a good example of how to use tech. Try to give kids your full attention when you are with them, and establish tech-free zones in the house and tech-free hours when no one is on their phones. To help build self-esteem, get kids involved in something they're interested in. When kids learn to feel good about what they can do instead of how they look and what they own, they're happier. A good diet and regular exercise should keep you healthy. Your body needs the vitamins and nutrients found in vegetables and fruit. It also needs enough exercise to strengthen muscles and bones and reduce your chances of getting sick. What kind of a diet is best? At the top of anyone's list should be fresh fruit and vegetables. You also need to eat grains such as rice, wheat, oats, or corn. Dairy products in the form of milk and cheese provide your body with necessary calcium. Protein comes from meat and nuts. Don't eat too much meat, however. Eating too much red meat in particular is not good for your heart and it might increase your chances of getting cancer. Try not to eat junk food. What's junk food? Potato chips, donuts, candy, and cookies are junk food. Many people who eat junk food fail to eat healthy food because they like the taste of junk food better. If kids eat a lot of junk food, they will develop bad eating habits. Being healthy is not that hard. If you eat right, get regular exercise, and avoid unhealthy habits, you will thank yourself in the future. Practical stress management can help students deal with their worries and become more productive, competent, and efficient. First of all, students must be able to design and stick to a timetable. Choose a relaxing break between work and study, even if it's just taking out time to breathe. In addition, a healthy lifestyle is essential for students. Let's drink more water as well as take out time to get some air and exercise. Furthermore, organization is very important in academic life for dealing with stress. By keeping academic notes organized, turning in assignments on time, and keeping track of all deadlines, stress can be reduced to a great extent. Stress can also get worse if a person feels lonely. Therefore, by letting out all your thoughts to someone you trust, you immediately feel a lot better. However, if you feel extremely stressed out, take a break and do something you love. Whether it is painting or listening to music, doing something you enjoy can cheer up your mood and distract you from a stressor. It's about time that we students accept that we can achieve just as much in life without all the stress. Ecodistricts are neighborhoods that limit their environmental impact by prioritizing sustainable development and reducing energy consumption. Similar to blue zones, ecodistricts are also designed to promote diverse social environments to increase residents' quality of life. They achieve this by utilizing sustainable and recycled building materials, renewable energy sources, eco-friendly forms of transportation, and state-of-the-art waste management systems. While ecodistricts are popping up in cities all over the world, countries in Northern Europe like Sweden, Germany, and France are leading the effort. The city of Paris alone has at least 4 ecodistricts, and plans for more are currently in the works. The Hammarby Sjöstad ecodistrict in Sweden equips its buildings with solar panels to provide electricity, and its heating system is fueled by biofuel, combustible waste, and water from its water treatment plant. Spending your free time on the internet can be fun. You can chat, share photos with friends, and play online games. But some people are addicted to the internet. They just can't turn it off. Being online for many hours at a time does not mean you have a problem. The internet is very useful. Online, you can pay your bills, buy clothes, and read the news. There are many good reasons to spend time online. However, people with an internet addiction are online too much. They don't spend time with their friends and family. Instead, they spend their time chatting with their internet friends, people they have never met in real life. Some also play online games all day or night. Some people with internet addictions even leave their jobs so they can spend even more time online. People with internet addictions don't just go online to shop, have fun, or do work. People who have this problem often go online because they want to escape the stress and problems in their lives. Many internet addicts stop caring about their real lives and focus only on their online lives. One way internet addicts can get help is by using special software. This software controls how much time someone can spend online. It tells the computer to turn off the internet after a certain amount of time. This helps people focus on real life. The software's goal is to teach people to use the internet for good reasons and not just as an escape. Today, childhood is spent mostly indoors, watching television, playing video games and surfing the internet. When children do go outside, it tends to be for scheduled events, soccer camp, or a fishing derby, held under the watch of adults. The shift to an indoor childhood has accelerated in the past decade, with huge declines in spontaneous outdoor activities such as bike riding, swimming and touch football, according to separate studies by the National Sporting Goods Association. In addition, a child is 6 times more likely to play a video game on a typical day than to ride a bike. The change can be seen in children's bodies. In the 1960s, 4% of kids were obese. Today, 16% are overweight. It can also be seen in their brains. Studies indicate that children who spend lots of time outdoors have longer attention spans than those who watch lots of television and play video games. The United States is home to countless monuments and sites that are of great historical and cultural significance, and their preservation is the utmost importance. These monuments and sites serve as tangible reminders of the country's history and help us understand and appreciate the heritage left by their ancestors. One such site that embodies the importance of preserving our past is the Statue of Liberty. This iconic statue, gifted to the United States by France, is not only a symbol of freedom and democracy, but also a testament to the relationship between the two countries. The preservation of the Statue of Liberty is crucial to maintaining this relationship and honoring the sacrifices made by those who came before US. Another iconic symbol of the USA's history is Mount Rushmore, which is the host to millions of visitors worldwide and is surrounded by the Black Hills. Over the decades, Mount Rushmore has grown in fame in America as a symbol of freedom and hope for people from all cultures and backgrounds. The memorial brings to life the statues of Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, and Theodore Roosevelt, which honors their life and impact on the USA's history. Therefore, its preservation makes the state's roots long-lasting and appreciated. As a result, preserving our past also includes protecting historic buildings and landmarks. These structures serve as a physical representation of our country's history, and their preservation is essential to understanding and appreciating our past. Living in Vietnam today differs greatly from the lifestyle of 100 years ago. People in the past mainly worked in agriculture, whereas today there are significantly less people working in this sector of the economy. These days, by comparison, people are more likely to be employed in manufacturing and tourism than in the rice fields. Moreover, Vietnam, which was traditionally agrarian, is transforming into an entirely different country. While agriculture is still an important component of the Vietnamese economy, other enterprises are accounting for an increasing amount of economic activity. However, along with the differences, similarities also exist. The people of Vietnam have retained many of the characteristics of their forefathers. The Vietnamese people are as friendly today as they were in the past. This is best exemplified in the way they welcome foreigners to their unique country. Moreover, the resilience and determination of the people of Vietnam has not changed. The Vietnamese work collectively and happily towards the development of their country. Over the last century, there have been many significant changes in the way we live. Obviously, it is difficult to compare the life of ancient people and the life of the people living in the 21st century because so many changes have occurred. Even the changes that have occurred over the last 10 years are amazing. To start with, in the past people had to work harder as they did not have tools and machines to make their work easier. Today, most of the difficult and dangerous work is done by computers and other powerful machines. In the past, living conditions were not as comfortable as they are now. Besides, many people could not afford household appliances like a fridge or a vacuum cleaner because those used to be luxurious goods. Another difference between living now and in the past is the fact that nowadays education is accessible to everyone. In the past, men were mainly the only ones educated, and women were not allowed into public or private schools. Besides, nowadays it is much easier to find the educational materials and the information you need, thanks to the internet. We are able to speak to a friend who is on the other corner of the world because we are connected 24/7. Nevertheless, people had better relationships with the neighbors in years gone by. All things considered, it is an obvious conclusion that life has changed significantly during the course of history. In some ways, it is definitely easier to live in the present. On the other hand, however, life now is much faster and stressful than it used to be in the past. The standard of living has definitely improved, but it can be discussed whether the quality of our lives is also better. The Teen Adventure Program is a unique and challenging experience for campers 14 to 16 years of age. Teens participate in a variety of outdoor activities while exploring the beauty of the region and making new friends from around the globe. The Camp California staff, along with the reliable activity specialists, make Teen Adventure the adventure of a lifetime, filled with fun and exhilarating activities like kayaking, rock climbing, mountain biking, hiking, snorkeling, caving, sailing, and much, much more. The first couple days of Teen Adventure Program give campers the opportunity to get to know each other and their counselors through a variety of team-building challenges. Once on the road, teams of campers and counselors visit a variety of tourist destinations and adventure areas. Teens assist staff with preparing their own meals, as well as setting up and taking down the campsites each day. Evenings are time to relax around a campfire after the day's adventure, sing songs, play games, or visit some of the region's most beautiful towns and villages. Accommodation varies from tents to cabins or dorms, depending on the location and weather. I've had my fair share of travel mishaps throughout the years, but my worst travel experience happened during my first solo trip outside of the European Union. My trip to Turkey was amazing, but then things went wrong hours before I was supposed to fly back home. After packing my suitcase during the night and just before heading down to the lobby to catch the airport shuttle, I decided to lie on the soft bed one last time. And of course, I fell asleep. I woke up 3 hours later and instantly panicked. There was no way I would make it to the airport on time to catch my flight, and I felt helpless. I was terrified of being stuck in Turkey and had no idea what to do. After calling my family back home, tears running, I eventually headed down to the lobby. And while the staff could not help me, a local approached me to ask what was wrong. The local proceeded to help me by calling the Turkish hotline of the airline for me. To my dismay, there was nothing they could do. But then the wonderful stranger looked up new flights back home for me. Thanks to the kindness of this stranger, I managed to make it home that very day. And it made me realize that you are never truly alone, even if you are solo traveling. After all, there are amazing people everywhere that are happy to help when you find yourself in a bad situation while traveling. Summer camp is an American tradition, and millions of children attend some form of camp each year. Camp gives children a chance to grow in a multitude of ways, and is a great chance for children to develop life skills that they can practice long after the camp concludes. Camp offers children a chance to immerse themselves in new activities away from home and things that would otherwise distract them. As children exit their comfort zone, they're free to learn new things without judgment, and in an environment where everyone is learning new skills every day. This immersive experience encourages children to try new things and be more flexible in their skill set. Summer camp also gives children and teens a chance to operate outside of their parents' supervision, which helps them improve their independent thought process. Camp gives children a chance to brush their teeth, make their bed, adhere to a curfew, and follow camp rules, all without parents telling them to do so. All of this independent decision-making helps kids become more confident in themselves and helps them become more capable independent decision-makers. One embarrassing moment I would never forget took place when I was in 9th grade. For my final written exam, I received the exam schedule 10 days before the exam. We had 8 subjects, and the exam for each subject was lined up within a span of 10 days with 2 holidays. For the third exam, we had a holiday the day before the exam. I started studying social sciences. The exam day arrived and I entered the classroom. I was all prepared to take an exam on social sciences. The supervisor entered the classroom and started distributing the answer sheets at first. On the answer sheet, it was printed, Mathematics Exam Answer Sheet. I was shocked and confirmed with the supervisor and the student on the desk behind me. Both confirmed that the exam schedule that day we had mathematics exam. The moment brought me a lot of embarrassment in the classroom. Because of my carelessness, I was going to write an exam for which I had not prepared. I was terrified and requested the supervisor to give me some time to brush up on mathematics theories before I start. He denied my request as that was against the college's exam policy. I was left with no choice but to write the paper knowing that I am going to fail. Fortunately, I had prepared thoroughly for mathematics in the previous months, because of which I managed to pass the mathematics exam. Today, after years, I and my friends laugh at this embarrassing incident, and they still make fun of me for putting myself into such an awkward situation. Education has evolved drastically over time. Humanity began storing and transmitting knowledge through word of mouth, passing down information about animals, plants, and the land to each succeeding generation. Formal education is said to have begun in Greece at around 4 BCE. In fact, the word school comes from the Greek word skol, which means leisure. This provides insight into how education was perceived back then, as an enjoyable activity rather than a chore. Today, the likes of Elon Musk have criticized formal education, deeming college degrees as a means of proving that you can do your chores, but they're not for learning. Educational tools have advanced. Wax tablets were amongst the earliest learning instruments used by the Romans. Today, digital tablets and an electric stylus fill our classrooms and have almost completely replaced pen and paper. Digital technology, comprising computers and the internet, represents the second main wave of disruptive technology since the printing press. Such technology has completely revolutionized the potential for learning and teaching in more engaging and accessible ways, paving the way for leisurely learning, as the Greeks intended it to be. Digital devices are used in every aspect of life and provide a mobile, interactive tool for learning. Educators are finding ways to use them effectively, including the nuances and process of social channels. Digital devices also allow students to be more mobile instead of being chained to a desk. Interactive communication such as Skype can also be used for new learning experiences that are shared with other classrooms. This allows for collaboration for projects between classes and even school-to-school, introducing experiential learning in many communities. Technology and digital devices have also made teachers more accessible to students using educational platforms, social media, and other means to communicate, upload lessons and assignments, and for assignment submissions. At the same time, many fear that artificial intelligence is the sleeping giant that can replace a teacher, with many adaptive software developments opening up various possibilities. Schools are using the internet as a learning tool, with many focusing on IT skills. While many have smart boards in every classroom and students carry around laptops to their lectures, teens today in the US are spending their time differently than they did a decade ago. They're devoting more time to sleep and homework, and less time to paid work and socializing. Overall, teens spend an hour a day, on average, doing homework during the school year, up from 44 minutes a day about a decade ago and 30 minutes in the mid-1990s. Teens are also getting more sleep than they did in the past. They are clocking an average of over 9.5 hours of sleep a night, an increase of 22 minutes compared with teens a decade ago, and almost an hour more than those in the mid-1990s. Teens now enjoy more than 5.5 hours of leisure a day. The biggest chunk of teens' daily leisure time is spent on screens, which can include time spent gaming, surfing the web, watching videos, and watching TV. However, the time spent socializing, including attending parties, extracurriculars, sporting or other entertainment events, as well as spending time with others in person or on the phone, has declined. Teens also are spending less time on paid work during the school year than their predecessors. Much of this decline reflects the fact that teens are less likely to work today than in the past. From the 20th to the 21st century, there have been significant changes all over the world. Substantial differences are evident between the way we live today and the way we lived a century ago. Vietnam is no exception, although there are some facets of life that still resemble the way of life of the 20th century. Living in Vietnam today differs greatly from the lifestyle of 100 years ago. People in the past mainly worked in agriculture, whereas today there are significantly less people working in this sector of the economy. These days, by comparison, people are more likely to be employed in manufacturing and tourism than in the rice fields. Moreover, Vietnam, which was traditionally agrarian, is transforming into an entirely different country. While agriculture is still an important component of the Vietnamese economy, other enterprises are accounting for an increasing amount of economic activity. However, along with the differences, similarities also exist. The people of Vietnam have retained many of the characteristics of their forefathers. The Vietnamese people are as friendly today as they were in the past. This is best exemplified in the way they welcome foreigners to their unique country. Moreover, the resilience and determination of the people of Vietnam has not changed. The Vietnamese work collectively and happily towards the development of their country. As I remember, back in the 50s and 60s, Hanoi was not as crowded as it is today. Bicycles and cyclos were the main means of transport, and the few motorbikes that were around were owned by rich people. It was rare to see cars or jeeps. Meanwhile, the tram was the only method of public transport. An old tram station is now home to several retail outlets that look out over the lake in Din Tai Hong Street. At that time, Hanyans always travelled by tram, not only for its convenience but also the price. For just 5 cents you could travel one way to its terminus in the former Ha Dong province, which is now part of the expanded Hanoi. I still remember on days off from school, my friends and I would go to the lake to catch the tram to Botanical Garden. The sound, clang clang, clang clang, could be regularly heard from early in the morning until late in the evening, come rain or shine. Time, decades have passed, but there is still a clang somewhere in my mind from my childhood. I have been on an unforgettable field trip to Ba Vai with my class. The trip was designed to show students the authentic life of Vietnamese villages and to support the local community. During this trip, we paid a visit to some local families who introduced us to the daily life and traditional activities of the local villages. The first stop was at the Rai village, where we met Mr. Duok, who owns the tea plantation. We had a walk around his farm and took part in the tea harvesting. Later he taught us how to roll and dry the tea leaves. Then we visited another village and the other host, Mrs. Chin, who taught us how to cook traditional meals. After cooking, we could try the meals we made for lunch at the tropical garden. After a short break, we could have a cycling trip along the lake, rice fields and banana plantations. On the way, we could enjoy the surrounding scenery and talk to local people. We also saw what people did for a living and how the local products were made. After the cycling trip, we moved to the third host, Mrs. Chin, who is a representative of Muong people. She took us on a boat trip along the Da River, which was the last part of the field trip. That was the first time I travelled without my parents, and it was absolutely a memorable experience.